This is a TalkStation original podcast.
On this week's episode of the Paper Boys podcast, JJ interviews the Bleacher Seats boys, Rodney Kemp, Cecil Lilley, and Jimmy Paylor. They talk about the World Series, football in North Carolina, and ACC college basketball. It all starts right now on the Paper Boys podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Paper Boys podcast. I'm JJ Smith.
And I'm Zack Nally.
We are reporters with the Carteret County News-Times. We are not joined by our faithful producer, Ross Caraway, today. I guess if he's not here, we can't call him faithful producer, can we?
Well, he would have been faithful had he known probably, JJ.
That is helpful when you tell your producer what time the podcast is going to be recording. So I guess that's on me. So, yeah, Ross is still our faithful producer. Instead, today, our producer will be Mr. Zachary Nally. I swear, to look at him, you wouldn't think that he's talented, but look at him. He can do just about anything.
He's definitely got a face for radio.
And you hear those voices. Backed by popular demand is the Bleacher Seats boys. Thank you, fellas.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Jimmy Paylor, Rodney Kemp, and Cecil Lilley. If you don't know, they joined us about 2 months ago. And that time we reminisced about the Bleacher Seats show that was on for 18 years and
at least
400 shows. And when you're that kind of popular, people just want you back.
Okay, thank you.
I look, Cecil, you'll appreciate this. I went into Waves Grill on Highway 24 today, and Jack Garrison walked in.
Right.
Remember Jack?
Yes.
Yeah, he never saw a shot he didn't think he could make. Jack looked at me and said, "Are y'all still doing Bleacher Seats?" I said, "As a matter of fact, let me tell you what we're doing today at 11 o'clock.
Wow, you're talking about timing.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah.
The Bleacher Seats boys and the Paper boys, the BS boys. Oh, that works for y'all on a couple of different levels, doesn't it?
It really does.
Many levels,
does.
yes.
Yeah. Well, we thought we'd have them back from time to time, and why not have them back now when there's about as much going on as there possibly could be? In fact, gentlemen, were you aware that the other night we had a sports equinox? Do you know what that is?
So I'm going to assume it's football, basketball, and baseball played on the same night.
And hockey.
And hockey.
All four professional sports.
Awesome.
That's happened 30 times in the history of humanity.
Wow.
How about that?
That's awesome.
That is amazing.
That's why we should have you on. I mean, we could talk NHL, we can talk NBA. I know y'all are all about those two sports.
What a great time of year.
Yeah. If I had to guess about the three sports that you all follow the most closely, I would say that, number one, they're all the same. And I'm going to say it's baseball, college basketball, college football. Am I right?
It's the most popular.
The ones that you three follow the most closely.
That's what
Is that your order, Rodney?
Yeah.
Baseball, college football, college basketball.
That's exactly right.
And I'm going to add NFL to that.
That would be your three in that order, though.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Four.
Yeah.
And four. And how about you, Cecil?
I would put baseball first, but then I'd put probably college basketball
and
then college football.
Yeah. All right, look, I know what I'm talking about.
You are spot on.
You think
it's amazing.
You think that's your age groups? Is that what most of your friends are? You think about the same?
Well, these age groups would be basketball when they played with a wicker basket. Half court.
And the girls could only stay on one end.
Now my age group would be a little different than their age group.
Yeah.
That's JJ. It's what I grew up with. You know, my dad was a baseball fan, and back in the day, the ACC basketball games sailed with the Pilot. That with
Jefferson Pilot,
yeah.
But JJ, the beauty of this, in talking to Cecil and Rodney as much as I have about sports, they remember listening to baseball games on the radio when it was the only option.
Oh yeah, the Pittsburgh Pirates.
And just play it in your mind.
Wow.
And can you imagine us three sitting here talking about Zack and JJ? We never grew up listening to radio or baseball on radio because it was on TV. We didn't have to listen to it. Well, now I'll listen to it driving now. But you guys taught me all the time about sitting there with your little, and I can see y'all sitting in your bedroom with your little radio listening to
transistor radio.
Yeah, little transistor radio.
KDKA from Pittsburgh was real clear here in Carteret County, and that's why Dick Grote, Bill Mazeroski, and Bill Verdon and all that were heroes of ours. So, although I was not a Pirate fan, but I listened to them on the radio.
You had to follow them a little bit, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
Well, that's kind of all of us going to end up rooting for teams we see a lot. It's like Zach mentioned earlier, watching the Braves because of TBS. I mean,
right.
Back in the day, if you weren't a Washington Redskins fans, you were out of luck because CBS, that's all they were showing was Washington Redskins.
That's correct, yeah.
Well, what do we think about? I don't talk too much about the World Series because by the time this airs, that'll kind of already pretty much be decided, but we can talk about it some. But I think the most pressing thing about baseball these days is people are up in arms, which they tend to be about baseball from time to time, about the fact that we don't have any of the big teams in the World Series. We have these upstarts, these underdogs, the format where all the best seeds took a week off and then they came back, and the other teams had already been playing wild cards, so they got the reps. All these number one seeds, the Braves, the Orioles, the Dodgers, the Rays, the Brewers, the Astros, the Rangers and the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks were 20 games back of the Braves.
Wow.
The Rangers were 14 games back. So these are not the cream of the crop, but they're in the World Series. So a lot of people are saying we need to change the format, not give these number one seeds a week off, because in baseball, it's all about playing. Do you think this is a blip on the radar, or does changes need to be made?
Well, they're not going to change the format, because the more games you have, the more money you make. That's the bottom line there. But the more teams you add, you increase the chances of your best teams not playing. This deal having a week off, I don't buy that too much. There's too many things you can do to prepare, and they have pitchers that they can bring up from the minor leagues or whatever. They can throw batting practice. You can have inter-squad games. They have pitching machines that can simulate the break on a starting pitcher's curveball 20 degrees or whatever. They have all kinds of things you can do. Now, I think one thing the Braves did during that week, I think they had too much time to think, because they changed their batting order.
Mm-hmm.
And the old adage, if it's not broken, don't try to fix it. And they never quite got in a rhythm after that. But the more teams you add, the greater chances you're going to increase that the top two teams are not going to meet. In college basketball, when you go from 8 teams to 64 teams or whatever in the NCAA playoffs, there's
that's a good point.
More upsets,
yeah.
Whatever.
But baseball's a sport to me that you get, well, in any sport, you get hot at the right time.
Sure.
And your momentum can carry. I've never seen a series, going back to the Phillies-Arizona series, where the Phillies were so hot, and in mid-series, Diamondback got so hot and continued and carried it on to playing in the World Series. But JJ, talking about the World Series, you gotta love. I personally love the fact that the Rangers and the Arizona Diamondbacks are in the series. And I'm a traditionalist. I would love to see Baltimore, the Yankees playing the Braves, but it gives me a chance. Somebody on the East Coast who does not follow the Diamondbacks or necessarily the Rangers as much, but I have thoroughly enjoyed this World Series, and I'm going to continue to enjoy it. Can't wait to watch it tonight as we record on Tuesday. Can't wait to get in front of the TV to see it. To me, it's the series with Torey Lovullo managing the Diamondbacks is brought back to me old school baseball. Yeah. How many times in a World Series have you seen pitch acts in the last 10 years? We saw 2 pitch acts in one night on the opening game because of what he does, because he bunts, because he steals bases. So old school baseball, that's small ball, what we call small ball or Billy ball back in the Yankee and Billy Martin era. He's back. I mean, that's what he does. That's why they're winning.
And you have a relationship. I mean, the Arizona manager.
Yeah. So Torey Lovullo was drafted when I was in pro. He's drafted by the Tigers. Actually, the year before that, I think he was drafted by the Royals and didn't sign. But then the next year, he played at UCLA. So the next year, he was drafted by the Detroit Tigers, and that was in the late '80s. And I was umpiring when he was in London, Ontario for the Tigers. And then the next year, he went up to AAA, and so I saw him for a couple years before he went to the big leagues. But yeah, great guy. Always knew that he was going to be successful. And he was a successful third baseman. He played quite a few years in the big leagues. But
Jimmy, I didn't know you had that kind of connection. Can you get him on the Paper Boys podcast?
I'll reach out to him and see what we can do.
Bring him in.
But also in Bruce Bochy, what an old school guy is. So Arizona lost 110 games 2 years ago.
Right.
2 years ago, they lost 110 games. And Texas lost over 100 3 years ago. And they have turned it around in a matter of 3 years, and these two teams are playing. They didn't bring Bruce Bochy into Texas to lose. They bought him in because they wanted to win. He's won 3 World Series and working on his 4th. So, I mean, it's good stuff.
But it's still the World Series. The aura of the World Series to someone like me that was raised in the 50s, and Cecil too, that was the highlight of the sports season. And it came on at noon when it was the Yankees and the Dodgers. Remember that? My mother let me stay home one day from school just because and one day I stayed home, Don Larson threw a perfect game. And I was pulling for the Dodgers.
Again, you could take your transistor radio to school and you could kind of sneak and listen to the games or whatever.
We would do that.
Getting back to the series, again, what happens in series? Like I say, you get certain players get hot and some players are cold. Like with the Dodgers, Xander Bogaerts and Freddie Freeman, who are fantastic baseball players. I mean, Freddie Freeman will probably finish second or third in the MVP ballot. And they were 1 for 21. They're your number 2 and number 3 hitters in the lineup. Yeah. If it's a 4-game series or what in the regular season, you don't think too much about it. But in the World Series, in the playoffs, the divisional playoffs, that'll put you out.
And Kershaw gave up 8 runs in the first inning. Got ripped in the first inning. And like I said, you just never know. It's the team that gets hot. You would think with a 7-game series, the best team might eventually win, but one team can get hot and just ride that wave, and it's beautiful. It's been great.
And that's baseball too.
That is if
you hit the baseball and you pitch the baseball well, you got a chance. I don't care who you are or where you came from.
Yeah. Cecil, like you said, you coached baseball a long time. Like, if a week off is anything that keeps you from the World Series, then maybe you didn't deserve the number 1 seed, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There's something that's I just can't buy that at all. I mean, having a week off to prepare to get your pitching staff just like you wanted, and then you don't hit, and because we had a week off. No, it's because that's baseball, and that's the way it goes. 1960 World Series, Yankees had a second baseman played second base for a long time named Bobby Richardson. Great little second baseman, a 220 hitter. In the World Series, he got 12 hits.
Yeah,
he was the most valuable player and was on a losing team. That's how things can look in a series. Things can happen. Well, that's what makes it really, really interesting.
And who's enjoying the Diamondbacks against the Rangers is the crowds. They're loud every pitch. It's amazing the emphasis they're putting on how much they're enjoying watching the World Series game. Big time.
The following is a real off-the-air conversation.
The old-timey barbershops where the hot lather. They're back.
Oh, really?
It is so much fun. I go to Shave on 5th.
Which is not on 5th.
It's not, but it's on 5th in Greenville.
That's right.
It's from Greenville. And you go in there and they got the music blaring, and boy, it's fun, man. I get my haircut every week. Every week.
Go every week?
Every week I go get my haircut.
Get your haircut every week.
Jimmy, Shave on 5th. Look,
it's an experience.
So let me just tell you.
How much does it cost?
So Shave on 5th is $35. So
for what, beer too?
So they'll trim this up and cut my hair for $35.
You say beer too? A beer.
They do beer for $35.
At Shave on 5th, they sit there and they'll give you bourbon, you can drink and get you vodka.
Cigar too, if you want to, probably.
And look, they'll lay you back and put hot towels on your face, massage your face. It is unbelievable. They get a straight razor, right? Got that little finger up, straight razor, and
got a strap on the side where they do it?
Well, no, because that was when they had to sharpen it. But now they use a new blade every customer. So they'll throw that blade away and get a new blade for the next customer. But I know what you're talking about. That was when you got a haircut, they sharpen the blade, and I get a haircut, use the same blade.
That's a lot better atmosphere than I have.
I'm telling you, it's my version of Janelda going to get her toes done.
Sure.
It's something you look forward to.
A little me time.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Man, the old-timey barbershops are back. I mean, they're back and better than ever.
To try the new barbershop experience for yourself, visit Shave on 5th at 5133 Highway 70 West in Morehead City for a walk-in, or make an appointment by going online at theshaveon5th.com or call 252-999-0133.
Hi, folks. Bob Lowry here, and this episode of the Paper Boys Podcast is brought to you by the Carteret County Speedway.
Troy Lavello also has a tie to our area. Yeah.
Kinston Indians.
How about that?
He managed the Kinston Indians. That's correct. Yes.
I knew they knew.
Yeah.
I knew they knew that.
Yeah. managed to catch them.
How about that?
Yeah.
And the Rangers also have a tie to our area because they're the parent club of the Down East Wood Ducks.
What used to be the Diamonds with Ducks.
Well, that's true, I guess.
No, they're not. Are they?
Well,
they're
I
not
guess
coming back. Are they?
as of right now, I guess they're the Down East Wood Ducks. But yeah, you're right. That's not going to last too much longer, is it?
Right. Yeah.
So we got some Kinston ties.
Yeah.
One of the Diamondback pitchers pitched to East Carolina.
Sure did. Hoffman. Yeah.
He was
Hoffman.
East Carolina pitcher.
Yeah.
And Corey Seager is a Charlotte boy.
Yep.
And a really good shortstop. And
Really
a really
good
good and a really good hitter.
I was going to say, pretty decent with the bat in his hand, ain't he?
Really good.
And one of the quick turnarounds, they pay Seaman, second baseman, bunches of money. Corey Seager, Jimmy's talking about the quick turnaround there. They got Simeon to play second base, signed him for a bunch of money, and Corey Seager, like 10 years, $340 million. And he is a good shortstop and a really good hitter. He might be worth the money.
Yeah.
You know, you talk about, I think both these teams are superior right here in the series on defense, in the infield particularly. They make plays that you and I admire, even if it was hitting grounders to us. That's hard to do, isn't it?
It is,
and the pitchers hang in there.
Yeah, and doing away with the shift.
Yes, that helps.
Helps if where the infielders can actually make some plays.
Did you see where now even though they've done away with the shift, now they're bringing the left fielder, to play short right field. So now there's no left fielder. So they're doing away with the shift. Yeah, you got to have two infielders on each side in the dirt. Your feet's got to be in the dirt as opposed to being in the grass. But now they're bringing their left fielder from left field, putting him in short right field. So you still got that hole, that 3-4 hole that you still got kind of clogged up there.
How do you think that would work with Rod Carew?
He would probably hit a backside and
I would
have a
think so.
stand-up double every time.
Yeah.
Every time.
Ted Williams.
Yeah. So have you been satisfied with the balls and strikes so far with the
I thought it'd been good.
Yeah. We talk about this quite a bit, JJ, umpiring. He'll call me when there's an umpire question or if he thinks the umpire was inadequate, that's
not very often.
I was going to say that's probably like once a month or something.
Yeah. But I keep telling him, there's 3 or 4 umpires that have a horrible reputation, which kills the whole umpiring. It's like having a bad apple in a basket. The whole basket's bad.
The weakest link in the chain, right?
That's correct, and it's not the case. I told him to be patient. That he will see some quality. And I watched it last night, and I thought, of course, the guy had to play last night. Alfonso was his name.
Marquez.
Yeah, really good. I mean, he's fun to watch because he just don't miss pitches. But I told you it was coming. So.
And I'm going to add some history in there. Ted Williams, they set up a shift for him. Lou Boudreau, who managed the Cleveland Indians, set up the Williams shift, didn't he?
In 1948, I think. Yeah.
And it didn't bother Williams a bit.
bit.
He thought, do what you want to do. I'm going to hit the baseball.
He hit it the other way. The shift has been around for a while. It was just a philosophy, it's changed to hit everything to the pool side and get the ball up in the air and don't worry about striking out.
Plus these days, all they want to do is hit in the stands anyway, right?
But that's the reason that Arizona is so unique in what they do with the bunting and sacrifice bunts and stealing bases and that's the reason they're so unique and so fun to watch.
Yeah, I thought it was so good. The second game, there were several times with runners on the second and third that Arizona got a base hit.
Yeah,
and both runners scored. Or one eye. They just tried to put the ball in play.
Yeah.
They're not swinging. The ball with the angle, worry about the launch angle and trying to hit the ball up in the air.
Yeah. And they do swing at the ball. They don't take many pitches. They get up there to hit, don't they?
They do.
That's part of making contact is what we say in baseball, and that's makes a difference.
Cecil, and also we talked during the break a minute or two, but I got to mention Major League Baseball, college baseball, NCAA, they all have made a push in the last 2 or 3 years to speed up the game. To do away with the 4-hour baseball game. Last night's baseball game was 2 hours and 49 minutes, 2 hours 50 minutes, I think. So the rule changes to speed up the game seem to have worked. Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong, it was 3-1 last night, and the pitching was good, and you didn't have a lot of in game or in inning pitching changes. They all changed at the top of the lineup. Or top of the order or inning, which helps. So I think the pitching or the speed up rules have worked, and it makes it better for the fans watching on TV because the game started at 8:00 anyway. So but last night by 11:00 it was over.
Yeah.
So
the days where the games are so long when managers one thing's helped the rule change where the relief pitcher comes in and he's got to pitch 3 batters.
Yeah.
Unless it's the last out of an inning, and if he starts the next inning, then he's got to pitch to at least 2 batters.
Right.
Before, you were bringing in 3 or 4 relief pitchers in one inning, and it just made the game go on and on. They had left-handed specialists, and the left-handed pitcher would come in and face one hitter. Pitching changed.
If it was us 3 hitting, they wouldn't worry about making pitching
Probably
changes.
not.
Well, yeah, you got you.
The game wouldn't last that long. Would it?
In this series, the Diamondbacks and the Rangers have great relief pitching, though, don't they? They're effective when they come in. It's amazing that's changed because when we grew up, that was a little bit shaky, wasn't it?
The relief pitchers were pitchers who were not good enough to be starters.
Exactly
That was the reason they came out of the bullpen.
And the starting pitchers went 8 innings.
Yes,
they went 8 innings.
Yes,
Now if you get a starter to go 5 innings or 6 innings, you got a 7th inning guy, you got an 8th inning guy, and a 9th inning guy. I thought it was funny last night that when Chapman came in, your Yankee Chapman, that he was the only one that gave up a run for the Rangers. I felt that he was going to blow a save or blow it, but he managed to pull through it. But
that's the reason. That's the reason he's an ex-Yankee.
That's the reason. Yeah.
But it's funny, Jimmy. You're talking about the changes they made. They put in a clock. Remember when the season started, people were losing their minds. The history of everything with baseball is always the history. The bases were bigger, and you would have thought they had changed every rule in the book.
Yeah, exactly.
Stolen, and now nobody even talks about that stuff.
Nobody. Yeah. Well, it like I said, I think it was better for the game.
Nobody notices the bases, and I think we talked last time. They said, well, the pitchers can only throw over 2 times.
Yeah.
The third time you had to pick them off, or it's a balk, and they move up. So there's going to be all kinds of guys going to steal 100 bases, and that's going to ruin the game. And no,
it
that's the way it happens.
Didn't happen.
Baseball's prone to hysterics, aren't they?
Yep.
There's no Braves fans in this room, but what do we think about the Braves 2 years in a row out in the National League Championship Series after winning 100 games and looking like they were the most dominant team in the league?
They certainly did mid-season. I thought the Braves were the team, and they just lost some of their momentum, and that's hard to believe, and that's tough to take. But they're still the Braves.
Yeah, and again, it's a 5-game series.
And they ran into who? The Phillies, right?
Right.
The Phillies were hot as a firecracker.
Yeah.
Bryce Harper.
He was playing with a little chip on his shoulder, and like I said, it's a 5-game series, and if you don't get out, that when that first game, you can say what you want to, but it's important. You got that first 2 games. You can't get behind in a 5-game series and come back and expect to come back and win 3 in a row. It's not going to happen. It's hard to happen.
Particularly games at home are important. You got to win your home games and split on the road.
Yeah.
2 years in a row to the Phillies. That's if the Braves fans didn't hate the Phillies enough already.
Exactly.
And how about I'm also intrigued by the Orioles. Talk about the 2 teams that are closest to us. That's a team you look at. I was looking on ESPN at their history, their experience of the players. Their top 10 hitters, 9 of them have played 7 years or less. 5 of them have played 5 years or less. And of their top 10 pitchers, 8 of them are 5 years or less, and 6 of them are 3 years or less. Boy, they're built for the future, aren't they?
So that means they're all under 30, basically. All under 28.
All are 27, 28, 29.
27, 28. And baseball players are playing 35, 38, 35, 37, 38. So yeah, like you said, JJ, I mean their future looks bright if you're Orioles fan. Absolutely.
And as opposed to the Rangers, the Orioles built their team through the farm system, but in order to do that, you had to finish last.
A lot.
You finish last a lot, and you get a number 1 draft pick. If you draft well, then you got a chance to be successful.
Jimmy was talking about teams losing 100 games. They were doing that well.
But Cecil, the key there, you said you got to draft well, and how important it. You miss a couple drafts, and you're right back to grind zero.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've got. Your system has to be in place where you got to find the players you need. They've got to come through the system in a couple years, and then they got to get to the big leagues and perform. Mm-hmm. So it's that draft system is important.
And baseball is tougher. You can take a number 1 pick in basketball, NBA, and they're probably going to do well. You can take the number 1 pick in baseball, and they might not make it.
They might not make it. They might not make it a double A.
It's hard to predict the success. And you see guys that are signed as a free agent, and in 5 years they're playing in the majors and doing well.
Yeah.
And I'm not a Baltimore Oriole fan, but I like Baltimore as a baseball town, and we say that because we used to go before school started. All of us were teachers and coaches. We'd jump in a car and go see the Yankee Oriole series, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
I pulled for the Orioles. You pulled for the Yankees.
I did.
It was entertaining, and the crowd was very entertaining too. Yeah.
And not to scare Orioles fans, but already because of the makeup of the team, what I was just describing, the lack of experience and the players all being about the same age, the general manager has already come out and said, not all these people are going to be here long term.
Because they won't be able to afford them. Is that what they're?
Yeah, I mean,
won't be able
you're
to
talking about multiple All-Stars
that are all going to be up at the same time.
Yeah.
All be a contract seeking at the same time.
And then these days in baseball, they're giving out just a little bit of money.
Just
Right.
a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, Rodney, back to your point too. You talking about the or Cecil's point about the guy who pitched last night for the Arizona. He wasn't even in the big league. I mean, he wasn't named a starter until September. So he's pitched all year in the minor leagues. Got called up. He was a reliever, and then in September they said, "Okay, well, we'll give you a shot." And
he looked good too.
Now he's.
Yeah,
he's got a fresh major league arm. There's nothing harder than a pitcher that feels good about himself.
Real quick, just get your little snapshot of anything you remember. Brooks Robinson, who passed away. What do y'all remember about watching him?
Fantastic field and third baseman. I played a little third base coming along, and he could make plays at third base that nobody else could make.
And could hit, and was an ultimate teammate, and all those things that go into making greatness for Major League Baseball players.
He actually came to Swenson Park.
I was going to tell that story. Yeah, I was going to say I got one on these boys. I went to a camp at Swenson Park. I went to a camp at Cecil Swenson Park.
I was there, and he was very effective.
I thought I was the best player there.
Well, yeah.
but yeah, he came to Swenson Park for camp. I was probably in the ninth grade, something like that. And he came to Swenson Park for Brooks Robinson baseball camp.
I had an autographed baseball that
That's neat. That's neat that you remember that. That's awesome.
Gave to my nephews.
Yeah, awesome.
Mr. Baltimore.
This episode is brought to you by RE/MAX Ocean Properties of Morehead City. Picture yourself waking up to breathtaking sunrises, strolling along the pristine sandy beaches of the Crystal Coast, and indulging in the tranquility of seaside living. That's what Realtor Jimmy Paylor can help you find. Take advantage of his years of experience and dedication and let him guide you through every step of the home buying process, ensuring you find the perfect property that suits your style. A home is more than a place you go after work. It's where you invest in your well-being, where memories are made and cherished for a lifetime. Don't wait. Start your home buying journey today. Let Jimmy Paylor and RE/MAX Ocean Properties make it happen for you. Come visit their office at 3326 Bridges Street in Morehead City, or give Jimmy a call at 252-342-0802. That's RE/MAX Ocean Properties at 342-0802.
I'm Brian North from News Channel 12, News and Sports Anchor, and you're listening to the Paper Boys Podcast.
A couple of weeks ago, our new producer today, Zachary Nally, wrote a column in the Carteret County News Times about rough year for football in North Carolina, even locally with the high schools. East, West, and Croatan probably didn't. None of them, I don't think, had the year they wanted to have. Then you take it up to the college level, and ECU is currently 1-7. You got the Panthers, who what are they, Mr. Nally? 1-6. So North Carolina's not killing. And if you want to throw the Tar Heels in there, who just a few weeks ago, this is not a joke, there was talk of an undefeated season and a college playoff berth. And now they have gone off the rails with 2 losses to, of all teams, Virginia and Georgia Tech. Where are we, gentlemen, in the state of football in North Carolina right now?
Well, you mentioned East Carolina, which is near and dear to me. Their football, I followed them for a long time. And we talked about this on our last podcast. You go back, you can't miss on quarterbacks. You cannot miss on your quarterback. You've got to have, at whatever level, if you're at Newport Pee Wee football this Saturday, you've got to have an athlete, you've got to have a quarterback that's better than their quarterback. If not, you're not going to win. East Carolina does not have that now. They got a quarterback situation that is ungodly. And it's got to fall. Some of it's got to fall on Houston. I love Houston. I love what he stands for, but he's in a little bit of trouble. People are trying to get his head now, and the offensive coordinator, I think they give him one more year, maybe get rid of the offensive coordinator, give him one more year. One, because they owe him $5 million. So, they're going to have to either some donor's going to have to come buy him out, or he's going to have one more year with the new offensive coordinator and see what happens.
Holton Ayler's last 4 years quarterback made it look
Last
easy.
5 years.
Made it look easy. And
Rodney, the thing about that is everybody called for Holton Ayler's head. You know, they would lose a game and they didn't want Holton Ayler's. He can't throw it downfield. But now, boy, they would love to have Holton Ayler's.
Oh my gosh, yes, and that's a good point. That the quarterback makes a difference, and Carolina was there with the May kid, and then all of a sudden the defense goes bad, and Mac Brown's not happy right now. No, not at all.
There's a old saying in football, as far as quarterbacks go, it's hard to throw it when you're laying on your back.
Can't throw it when you're laying on your back.
If you're an East Carolina quarterback, you better be made out of tough stuff. Because along with you've got to have an offensive line that can pass block some. And I watched the game Saturday, and boy, there was some rough sacks. I mean, he doesn't have hardly any time to throw the football.
Scott Lewis says if he was a general manager in the NFL, he would he would draft an offensive lineman. Every pick, no matter. So if you don't have an offensive line, your quarterback can't function.
Well,
a lot to be said about that.
Yeah,
yes, there is.
Another adage for football is the team that can control the line of scrimmage is the team that wins the football game. So yeah, you got to have a good offensive line, and on the other side, you got to be able to stop.
That's what I was going to say. That goes for both sides of the line of scrimmage, and that's what winning football teams do. And everybody doesn't have that kind of talent.
Yeah. Before we go talk about the Carolina Panthers and how sorry they are, why is high school football not as good as it has been in this area? You would know more about that, JJ, than we.
Our teams, or are you talking about Havelock, New Bern?
East Carteret, West Carteret, and Croatan.
Well, East Carteret, you're talking about a school of 500 kids, so you're going to have some talent.
Just don't have any. You're
going to have some dips. Yeah. And this year was a dip. I think next year they'll bump up a little bit. They played that. I don't want to call that team a JV team this year, but there's a lot of non-seniors on that team. Put it that way. Senior night was not a long night for the Mariners.
Yeah.
So they will bring back now. The quarterback comes back, the running back comes back, the top two receivers come back. Now they're going to bring back one offensive lineman, so we'll see what that's like. West, they'll tell you. I talked to Coach Barrow yesterday, Daniel Barrow. Well, we got a preview about their first round state playoff game coming up this Friday. He had a quote: "Nobody's happy with what happened this year. 6-4 was not what we were thinking of. They were thinking of conference championship. They'd won 2 in a row. They were looking for 3 in a row. I think they were looking for an 8-win season, 9-win season. For whatever reason, they struggled to run the ball this year. They lost to White Oak. They lost a very close game to Richland. So you're talking about a 7-win season. That's not bad in Carteret County. Yeah. And Croatan, again, they lost to Richlands. They won 5 games. That could have been 6 games. But a little bit of a down year for the county overall, I think, and just a little bit of dip. I think West brings back a ton next year, too. I think next year is a big year for West. Yeah. And Croatan is starting to get some real good talent from the Broad Creek Middle School.
East Carteret, too, their non-conference schedule was brutal.
Played White Oak.
They played a team from Wilmington.
They played Ashley, a 4A team.
Again, you're 500 students, and you're playing as
the football team over there's got 500 on the roster, I think.
Yeah. They got more coaches, assistant coaches.
That's right.
Players.
So yeah,
but you get back to it. There's not a lot of athletes at East Carteret right now. I mean, going back to it, and like I said, it's due to 500 students. I was talking to Jack Garrison about this morning. The 2 kids, the 2 basketball players, the 2 guards they got. But after they leave next year, they're going to have a down year for a couple years coming, just because their feeder schools are not going to be able to feed them because they don't have any athletes.
Things go in cycles.
Yeah.
My first year at East, I think the enrollment was like 950.
Wow.
Of course, that was a long time ago.
That was
1972. But
how about that?
When you go from that to 500, that's a lot less to.
Well, this leads into a whole discussion we'll get into about housing and affordable housing in this county, and how it's all on the western end of the county, and there's none on the eastern end. So that's East is it's going to be interesting to see what happens to East Carteret in the next 10, 20 years.
Yeah.
Those numbers are not going up over on those sides of the bridges.
So I like the way y'all talked about experience, because these are high school kids. These are kids, and they're going to grow every year.
Absolutely.
And by playing sports, you get better by playing it.
I think next year will be better.
good.
Yeah.
So, do you want to talk about the Carolina Panthers?
Bryce Young showed a little bit of spark.
They were playing the Houston Texans. My God! And can you believe they put that game? Can you believe they put that game on television at 1 o'clock?
And not your Cowboys.
Not the Cowboys and the Rams or the Eagles and Washington.
And then your Cowboys won.
Well, let me tell you one thing that I read recently that bothers me about the Panthers. Their owner, Tepler, is that his last name?
Yes,
Tepler.
yes.
He likes to sit in. He likes to run the coaches' meetings.
Got a little bit of that Jerry Jones in him.
Yes, I think he's got a whole lot. And apparently he's a guy with a lot of money that don't know a whole lot about football. One thing, you draft a quarterback, number one, and you get rid of your wide receivers.
That don't make any sense.
No, that doesn't.
And I don't think they drafted the right quarterback. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he's going to turn around and have a great NFL career, but he looks awful small and awful frail to be an NFL quarterback.
He does.
With
Seems like a really nice guy, and he threw the ball a little better last
guys
Sunday.
don't win football games.
Somebody said that. nice guys finished
don't win
last.
football games.
Well, those top 10 draft picks, quarterbacks, are about 50-50 anyway. So
they are.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Both Cecil and I had principals that always asked us how we did when we coached, and we always told him we won because he didn't know the difference anyway, did he?
That's kind of he didn't
want to hear us say, "Oh no, we lost to West Craven." No, he didn't want to hear that, and then he wanted to pick your brain, and he didn't have to if we won, did he?
No.
So if you had to put big money on it today, Houston comes back mostly because of the buyout at East Carolina.
I think he comes back with a new offensive coordinator.
Yeah. And let's remember now, Mike Houston, Hudson.
Houston. Mike Houston, yeah.
He's a good coach. You got to remember what kind of football, the shape the program was in when he got there. Yeah.
Whose fault's that?
It was in bad
Scotty
shape.
Montgomery.
Whose fault's that? Whose fault's that? That's East Carolina's fault.
Yeah, I go back to the athletic director to fire Ruff and McNeil.
And then you get rid of Ruff. And who was a fan favorite who could recruit.
Yep.
And you go with Scotty Montgomery and the other guy, I don't even remember who it was, but they had two from Ruff to Houston. Yep. They got Houston from James Madison, who was doing great. Of course, James Madison's still doing great. He probably led to be James Madison right now. But anyway, I blame East Carolina for that. So that's their fault. They're the one got rid of the successful coach because they got a new AD and he wanted to bring his guy in.
Yeah, and their players are good enough that other schools want them. So they lost a bunch of players through the transfer portal, and the players you replenished the roster with have not been quite as good as the ones that left.
Yeah. I read something yesterday that the East Carolina has gotten away from, that Ruff did great. The local talent.
Recruiting Eastern North Carolina.
They don't recruit in Eastern North Carolina.
Right.
And now that Old Dominion's got a team, and Campbell's got a team, they said even that Eastern Virginia kid, the Southeast Virginia kid, is not interested in East Carolina. Where 5-10 years ago, when Campbell didn't have a program and Old Dominion didn't have a program, that kid was still going to East Carolina.
Yeah, and if you're at East Carolina and you get a really good football player, and he gets a chance to go to Oklahoma or Georgia, is he going to stay at East Carolina or is he going to transfer? He's going to transfer.
Obviously going to transfer. Some of them have been to 4 or 5 schools, and they're in their second senior year.
Well, to build on that, Rodney, you talk about how quickly sports changes. Like I said, a couple weeks ago, legitimate talk about the Tar Heels, undefeated season, college playoff, and now if you go on Twitter today, people are talking about what does next year look like.
Yeah,
there's no Drake May. You got players going to the NFL. You got players entering the transfer portal. Next year it could be rough.
People calling for Matt Bryan's job, and calling for the offensive coordinator's job.
Does Matt go from a coach that might have been in the college playoff and undefeated to either fired or just leaves?
Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
And Carolina lost their offensive coordinator from last year, the guy with the crew cut.
Yeah, and bought in Chisnick, and no, Chisnick is the defensive coordinator. That's who they want. So Carolina Tar Heels. Possibly the Virginia loss, probably one of the worst losses in Carolina football history.
Absolutely.
Although the way, of course, now Virginia is playing better now. They took Miami to overtime the last.
But you put what that meant.
Yeah. It just, and then like you said, it just kind of like stabbed them and took all the air out of themselves.
I'm Ryan Kelly,
I'm Lynn Schultz.
and we're the hosts of the Senior Moment podcast.
Each week we bring you conversations with experts right here in our community about the common and uncommon challenges facing our aging population and caregivers.
We discuss the challenges of caring for a loved one with dementia, as well as the importance of health planning, family history, and much more.
Join us every week for Senior Moment, streaming now on Spotify, YouTube, and at CarolinaCoastOnline.com.
Hi, folks. Bob Lowry here, and this episode of the Paper Boys podcast is brought to you by the Carteret County Speedway.
All right, fellas, as Andy Williams said, it's the most wonderful time of the year. Here comes ACC basketball. What do we think this season's going to look like?
It's going to be a little bit different. It has in the past. It used to be there was 3 or 4 ACC teams in the top 15 or so in the country. Looks like Duke is preseason a number 2 pick, and Carolina is in the top 20. So we'll see. I don't think that it's going to be quite as competitive on a national level as it has been in years past, but we'll see. Carolina has a really good guard that's going to take Caleb Love's place, and
can really shoot. Carolina had an exhibition last week, and of course I don't know, it wasn't much of a team they played, but everything you read, it was old Carolina basketball back.
Had some shooters,
had some shooters, had some scorers,
and this point guard can pass the ball,
which will be very refreshing.
Yes,
very refreshing as to what we looked at last year.
Elliot Cadeau.
That's correct. That's correct. Yep.
And just yesterday, Duke signed a top recruit for 2024, Cooper Fly.
They tend to do that.
Yeah, and he is a 6'8" player that can shoot deep, can drive to the basket, can pass, can block shots on defense. They say he's like a generational type player. Is going to be the first pick in the NBA draft in 2025. So for next year, even for this year, things look good for Duke. And John Shire bringing in the number 1 recruiting class in the country for next year. And Duke has already given him an extension. So Coach K made a nice call when he said that John Shire.
Are we all Tar Heel fans here?
I like Carolina State and Duke and Wake Forest.
Tar Heel fan, Rodney?
No, I like Hubert Davis, and I've always liked Carolina coaches, but I don't like Carolina fans, so I'm not a Tar Heel fan.
How about you, Jimmy?
Yeah. I want to.
You feel bad right now. Rodney said he don't like you, didn't he?
That's okay. I'll forgive him. He needs a ride home. I'll give him a ride.
Well, in the span of your Tar Heel fandom last year, going from Associated Press preseason number 1 to not making the tournament, where's that rank in disappointing seasons as a Tar Heels fan?
Well, it just like we talked about earlier in the show about baseball getting hot. In basketball, you've got to have chemistry. You've got to have chemistry on the floor. And if you don't have chemistry, you can't. I don't care how good you are. You've got to have chemistry out there. And Carolina proved that last year. They just it was something about that team just could not mesh. And no matter the year before that, they played for the national championship and should have won it. And they have Brady Manick, the transfer kid from Oklahoma or wherever he's from, and he it's almost like he was the core,
the glue guy,
and they didn't have him last year.
I'll go back to the Dean Smith days, and I thought Dean Smith was as good with X's and O's as anybody I've ever seen. And I did not think the Carolina team the last couple of years has been good with X's and O's. And in the national championship game that they blew that big halftime lead,
they were up by 20.
They were not good at all. They made Self at Kansas, Bill Self coach. He made some adjustments. One thing, he inverted his post people, put the high low and the low high, and Carolina never made an adjustment to that. Defensively, and boy, that stung them. So, I think they needs to work some more on their X's and O's.
Yeah, it's interesting. But getting back,
Hubert don't care what I think. But
Well, as a Tar Heels fan, Jimmy, did you shed a lot of tears when Caleb Love transferred?
No, not one. I really didn't. And the year before that, I was a Caleb Love fan. He's the type of person. He was like a bad girlfriend in high school. One minute you loved her, the next minute you hated her, and that's kind of the way he was. He scored 30 in one game. You loved him. Next game he come out and score 8, and could throw in the ocean.
And it was Python.
And Python the whole time.
Never smiled.
Yeah.
How about Baycott? Is this his last year?
I don't know. He's been there. He's been there longer than Phil Ford ever as a coach. Hey, let's go back to Schreier at Duke.
Schreier,
yeah. I thought his theory was he was going to try to change the way he recruited to the one and done type player. Do you feel that the one and done type player is still the best way to go in college basketball?
If you don't recruit them, somebody else is.
Somebody's going to get them.
Yes, and they're going. You get the best talent that's available. That's
even if for 1 year you'll take it.
Yes.
And at Duke, the one and done player is a proven product. It happens. It's part of the system, and Shire has picked up on that too.
No, it has worked. There's work doing that for a while.
Right.
Yeah.
And Rodney, that's so good because I just noticed that as the NBA started coming on now and watching a little bit of that, you look back.
You're watching NBA?
A little bit. Yeah, just because it's slow nights. But 20 years ago, Carolina was consistent with the most NBA players. That's not the case now.
No.
Duke's got by far the most players in the NBA. You can't turn on the TV at night and watch an NBA game that they don't talk about a Duke player.
You mentioned NBA. I just want to mention this with the Hornets. Now, I've watched the Hornets several times, and I watch them. They're not a great basketball team. They're
not a stellar franchise.
We should have talked about them last segment when we were talking about all the success in North Carolina.
Their play-by-play guy, Eric Collins, I think's his name.
Yeah,
he's good.
Yeah.
Oh, he is fun to listen to, and Del Curry, their the color guy, analyst, who is Steph's dad, and Steph's dad, and Del was really a basketball player, but he's fun to listen to, analyze the game. So the play is not real good.
I would imagine
the commentary is great.
I would imagine the NBA and the Hornets are pretty far down y'all's list as far as making sure you're keeping up with what's going on and watching them on TV, right?
As long as the Warriors are around, anybody's off my list. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you a question about the Hornets. Do you think the NBA and the Hornets would be higher on your list if they were any good?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
The Hornets haven't been in the playoffs since 2016. They've been 3 times in the last 19 years. They have not won a playoff series since 2002.
So what's your point?
Let's imagine for a minute they were the Boston Celtics. I don't mean the Boston Celtics of Bill Russell and Larry Bird and all this stuff. Let's just say the Boston Celtics of the past 12 years. This is what the Boston Celtics have done in the past 12 years. They lost in the finals 1 year. 5 times they lost in the conference finals, and then they lost in the conference semifinals 1 year. They've had the 4th best winning percentage in the NBA since 2010. If the Charlotte Hornets were the Boston Celtics, would that be appointment viewing for you? Would you be making sure to watch them on a Wednesday night during basketball season?
Sure. Yeah. Look, some people are okay with mediocrity. Boston fans are not okay with mediocrity. New York Yankee fans are not okay with mediocrity. Dallas Cowboy fans are not okay with mediocrity. Charlotte Hornet fans, they don't know any better. I guess they don't know any different than us being below 500 and not making that the first round of the playoffs. They don't know any different. It's all a matter of what the fan base, what the owners want. It's not, JJ. It's not that the Charlotte Hornets could not be good. They could, in today's world with free agency and all, they could be good. I think they want to be good, but they just haven't figured out how to be good.
Well, and Michael Jordan was the owner there for a while, and as great a player as he was,
that don't mean he's going to be a good owner. That don't mean he's going to be a good owner.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
One thing Jordan did, they said he surrounded himself. If you're the smartest person in your circle, you need to expand your circle.
Amen.
Yeah. Okay. He surrounded himself with friends. And these friends didn't want to tell him no.
Same thing.
He'd come up with an idea. Yeah, that sounds good. Listen.
Same thing with Jeter in the baseball scene. He was not. I mean, he's the owner of one of the Florida teams, and and just like I said, so it's the same concept. I just think that the Hornet fans are in the Hornet are okay with mediocrity, and that's what they are.
If sports is entertainment, which it is on some level, the NBA, and you're putting out an entertainment product, you got to give people a reason to buy the ticket, right?
Yeah.
Now, years when they had Muggsy Bogues and they had Larry
Johnson, Alonzo Mourning.
I mean, and I don't know they were on TV as much.
Well, that was like 11 years in a row. They led the league in attendance.
Yeah.
That was fun.
They were fun to watch. Yeah,
I do pretty good with the NBA until college basketball starts, and then I start watching the college basketball.
Do we kind of keep track of the Pelicans with Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram on the same team?
So and he's back this year. He's back. Seems to be healthy. Played the first week or so.
Now I check the box scores every day to see the NBA, and I like to see what Bam Adebayo, what he's
absolutely Northside Pinetown.
We've watched him play at East Carteret, and it's fun to see him and what a player he's developed into.
And this year, are you interested in Victor Wembanyama?
Yes.
Yeah, just because of who he is. But Rodney mentioned it earlier. How can you not be a fan of Seth Curry and the Warriors?
Yeah.
And the Warriors.
And
I mean,
Warriors,
I mean, have you ever seen anybody that could shoot the basketball as pure as he could?
I don't think so.
I mean, seriously, has there ever been a shooter that just a pure shooter?
Jerry West is pretty good.
Yeah. Was he? I mean, could he create like Seth could?
I don't think that he could create probably like Steph can. I think he's me and Ryan talked about this. When Steph was a senior at Davidson. Davidson was playing in the NCAA playoffs, and about all they had was Steph. And Bobby Knight was having to do the play-by-play with the color analyst. And it was can Steph play in the NBA? They said, well, he's too this, he's too little, he's too this. And asked Coach Knight, he think Steph Curry will be able to play in the NBA? He said, be able to play in the NBA? He said, not only will he be able to play in the NBA, he'll be a great, great NBA player.
And boy, has he ever.
Yeah.
He is.
Coach Knight, he's a talent. So.
Let's end on this. ACC champion and ACC player of the year, who is it?
I'm going to go, I got to stay with my heels. Go Baycott, Carolina.
Okay, Rodney. ACC champion and the ACC player of the year.
I'm going to go with the Duke big man.
Filipowski.
Yeah, I like the way he plays, and he's getting better.
You think Duke wins it?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
Well, you stole my thunder. I like Duke and Filipowski.
Yeah. I think those are safe picks.
Yeah.
And Baycott, if he don't win, he's always got Social Security going back to him.
Yeah. Well, he's making like $600,000 this year. Yeah, so he'll be okay. Yeah.
Gentlemen, thank you for joining us again. We always appreciate it.
Our pleasure.
Thank
for
you,
sure.
guys.
Thank you.
I'm Pastor Carl Zarowski.
I'm Pastor Brian Lassiter.
And I'm Pastor Bill Clear. You know, right now, more than ever, faith matters.
Every Sunday here on the radio, a few local pastors discuss faith in the news and how it relates to you.
We explore local, state, and national issues through the lens of faith.
We look at the role of Christians in our world and ask, should the faithful be doing more?
Join us Sunday mornings at 8 for Faith Matters only on the Talk Station.